The movie opens with a story about a place called Neverland, where rules do not exist and every wish can come true. There are no parents and no sleep, making it a perfect place for little boys on the island ruled by Peter Pan. This story is told by Peter Pan to a boy named Curly, as he mentions that he will take him to Neverland, which seems to have disappeared. There is a fun event going on at the circus where Peter Pan performs, entertaining the audience without words, only through his movements as he points to a boy, causing him to laugh. That boy lives with his mother, who goes to take a bath while he sleeps. In the meantime, he wakes up and hears a voice from down there belonging to Peter Pan. The boy is scared and says not to talk to strangers, but Peter reassures him that they have already met today, and that they are friends, stating his name and extending his hand as the boy introduces himself as James. Peter promises him a secret place where all children go and says he can take him there. At that moment, the mother arrives and prevents the maniac from taking her son by pushing him away, realizing that their exit is blocked. She grabs a knife, and as she approaches, Peter cuts off her hand, while James distracts him. The mother then stabs Peter in the face with the knife from behind, and he knocks her down with a blow before cutting off her scalp and pulling it away with his bare hands. James is left alone in the room, and Peter promises him a place in Neverland. The movie shifts 17 years later, where we meet Wendy and her brother Michael, who is late for school. He receives a new bicycle for his birthday from his mother, while Wendy has forgotten about it and goes to pick him up with the car. Michael is upset because she forgot about his birthday, but Wendy plays some karaoke music to ease the tension. They arrive at school, where Michael is greeted by his friend Joey, while Wendy is late for work where her colleagues are waiting. In the meantime, in a store, Peter appears wearing a hoodie and searches for a mask to cover the scars on his face. A guy who works in the store sees him on camera, stops him and says he needs to pay for the mask. Peter turns around and stabs him in the neck repeatedly, creating a bloody scene. Back at the school, Carl mocks Michael, but his friend Joey saves the situation by giving him a present. After that, Michael finishes school and passes a suspicious van while Wendy is waiting for him standing by the car when Ronnie surprises her, saying he needs to think about their plans for moving in the future. Michael heads home on his bicycle and doesn't notice a thread that knocks him off the bike. He lifts his gaze and notices the van in front of him, then gets up as Peter Pan appears, telling him that he has to come with him before kidnapping him and taking him to the van. Wendy is still waiting for her brother at school, but he is not responding to her messages. She checks in at school and then moves on, while Michael is in a room with Peter, who removes his mask to show his scars. Peter tells him to close his eyes and speaks of a magical place that truly exists, which will be the best birthday present for him. The police have already arrived at Michael's house to investigate his disappearance, and a recording shows Michael that Wendy didn't notice because she was distracted. The phone rings, and when she picks it up, she only hears music coming from Peter. He then tells them not to worry about Michael because he is taking him to Neverland. Michael's mother recognizes his voice and goes out to look for him. In the meantime, Peter suggests they play hide and seek, asking Michael to find him in the room filled with dolls. Michael hesitates for a moment when Peter suddenly appears, jump scaring him. He then takes a picture of Michael with Joey and says that he could also be here, but Michael doesn't want to. Back at home, they don't know where he is, having already checked several places, and his mother is determined to make sure nothing happens to him. Wendy blames herself for this and calls her friends to join her at the address she found concerning the victim of a missing child. There, the father talks about how his child went to a nearby house and never returned. He then received a call about Neverland and still hopes to find him. Now, after school is over, the bus takes the children home and encounters Peter, who blocks the way. The bus driver gets out to help, and Peter quickly slashes him and approaches the bus full of children, who tremble at his gaze and begin to scream as he approaches. Back with Michael, Tinkerbell enters the room and tells him that he is the first chosen for Neverland, but he hasn't been there yet because he should be a fairy. John, Michael's brother, tells Wendy that he saw on the news that they found a bus with all dead children and thinks his brother is among them, but Wendy doesn't believe it. Peter Pan goes back home but suddenly starts to float. However, he comes crashing down when Tinkerbell arrives and questions the place he is taking them to, which makes him mad due to his lack of trust. After that, Peter goes to visit Wendy's friend, who wakes up and sees Peter stabbing her in the stomach. Wendy, still inside the house, hears a noise and opens the door to see another friend struggling and quickly hides. Peter looks around under the bed, but she is just outside the room and enters another room where she meets someone with tied hands. Peter hears them, and Wendy retreats in fear while he catches her friend and suffocates her with the bag as she stands behind the bed. She gets up after Peter leaves and follows him with her car. That was Joey's family, and he is now in the back seat with them. When they arrive at their destination, Wendy follows them and enters the house, hiding inside while Peter undresses, and then brings Joey to Michael, telling them that one of them will go to Neverland tonight and selects Joey to go with him. Wendy finds a knife and, along the way, discovers a lock that opens with Michael's birthday, and Tinker Bell sees her there. Wendy pleads, wanting only her brother back, but Belle is lost and begins to tremble. After that, Wendy enters the room and sees Michael, to finally reunite. Belle returns to Peter, all upset and frightened, and Peter notices the distress, so Peter offers to take this fairy shot. Suddenly a phone rings, which Wendy left behind, and he realizes that someone is in the house and asks who it is. In the meantime, Wendy searches for an exit, and Peter heads their way. Wendy hides as he confronts Michael, telling him who is there and not to lie, as he will never enter Neverland that way. Wendy attacks him and escapes with her brother, but Tinker Bell stops them. When Wendy hears his name, she says she knows what happened to him and that he is missed by his mother, who lets them hide while Belle doesn't reveal where they have gone. Michael picks up the phone and calls the police while Wendy approaches and finds Joey in a coffin. During this time, Belle says he no longer believes in Neverland, and Peter attacks him for betraying him, taking a knife to cut off both of his hands while Michael is still on the phone under the table. Wendy finds an exit from the house, releasing Joey as she goes back for her brother. There on the ground, she finds a photo of the boy from the beginning at the circus 17 years ago, who is now jump-scaring her. Michael stabs Peter in the leg to run beside him. Wendy sees James, who is chained up asking for help, and as Wendy approaches, she hears a noise nearby and leaves the room, where she is caught by Peter. He overpowers her as she defends herself, and he bites her fingers. She gets up to throw things at him and loses strength, seeing Belle, who tells her not to give up. Peter then presses his head with his foot and kills Belle. Wendy grabs a syringe, and when Peter picks it up, she injects him, causing him to lose strength and vision for a bit, giving Wendy a chance to escape. She steps on glass, injuring herself as she pulls it out, while Peter breaks through, stating that girls don't go to Neverland and bends to search for her, where she strikes and passes by Michael, whom Peter catches and begins to choke. At the last moment, Wendy joins in with a baseball bat, and they begin to fight in another room. Wendy drops a closet on him and notices a shard of sharp glass in her neck, causing her to bleed. Peter comes after her, putting the mask back on, telling her not to hurt him with a child's voice, saying he is just a child. But Wendy attacks him, pressing his eyes until Michael hits him, and then smashes his mask while screaming. Peter still gets up, this time without a mask, and James catches him with a hook, dragging him away. Now, Michael comes home with his sister and family, following his birthday a year after the incident. He opens gifts with his family. In that moment, the phone rings and Wendy picks it up with a terrified expression as the movie ends.